In this lesson, I would like to zone in on and concentrate on one particular component of music, which arguably is the most important of all, and that is melody. What makes a good melody? What are the building blocks of melody? How are they created? What makes them memorable? The first thing to discuss here is the idea of a melodic interval. And so when I say an interval, I mean a distance between two notes that happen one after the other. So here's C, for example. And here is the note G. So these two notes are two of my favorites. And the distance between them is what's called a fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a fifth. Now, let's discuss different intervals and then perhaps think about some examples of songs which are really good and great songs that use these intervals as their starting distance of a melodic interval, which makes them really strong. So here we have a second, as in 1, 2. We've got a third, 1, 2, 3. And then we've got a fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and we have an octave, which is the same note, but well, you could say an eighth, but no one really says an eighth. There you go. C one octave higher. There you go. So there are lots of different melodies within all of these intervals, and I'd like to give you some examples of some of my favourite tunes that use these intervals. Here's a good example for the interval of a second. Here. There's a song called Frère Jacques, and it goes like this. And then. Yeah. So that interval, it's like walking up the stairs. That's a second. So a really nice way of beginning a melody because it's not too shocking. It's not like going a third, like this. A good example of a third, there's a song called Kumbaya. I don't even know this song. Kumbaya, mellow, kumbaya, kumbaya, mellow, kumbaya. It's gorgeous. That's a third, and then that's a third as well. Thirds galore. And the nice thing about thirds is they outline triads. And we'll get to triads later, but a triad is essentially a chord, three-part chord, which feels very consonant. It's very natural to us. There's a good example for a fourth that I'm sure you know. And that is Amazing Grace. It's a good tune, right? You're rising a fourth. It's lovely. A fifth, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star is good. Yeah, so it's such a nice contour, isn't it? It sort of leaps up and then falls down. And the art of creating a melody is really a satisfying line or an arc that tells a story within its own right. And this is even before we think about lyrics and all of that stuff, and harmony and rhythm. It's just the line of a melody out of time. How satisfying is that? There's a nice example for a sixth, major sixth here. There's a song called My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean. It's a great one. My bonnie lies over the ocean, like that. Memorably enough, that is a sixth. It's quite a large distance to climb, but it gives you space to fall. You know, so that's cool. Arguably one of the greatest melodies of all time is a song called Somewhere Over the Rainbow. But you know that song. And that one is a full octave. Somewhere over the rainbow. And it's so lovely. It really draws a rainbow, if you think about it. It goes whoosh, like that, and then it goes, you know, really arcful, that melody. So within every melody that you know, and every melody that you are still yet to write as a musician, you will basically find mostly these intervals. And there are permutations and variations of each of these. So, for example, there's a second, but you can also have a minor second, which is a little smaller. There's a major third and a minor third. Perfect fourth, there's an augmented fourth, which is slightly bigger. Perfect fifth, there's a major sixth, like My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean. There's also a minor sixth. And then there's a seventh, minor seventh, and a major seventh. And, of course, the octave. And then that continues. You can have a compound second or third or fourth or fifth. Double compound. There's really anything that's possible. All of the greatest melodies are built up from these basic building blocks, so understanding intervals is a superb place to start. I find myself coming back to Somewhere Over the Rainbow very often because that as a melody it's so beautiful and so sound and contains a lot of these intervals. So we start with an octave and then we've got lots of stepwise movement. There's a third and seconds, and then we jump a sixth and move down and we do another sixth. And then we've got lots of stepwise motion again. So it's really interesting contrast between large distances and and smaller distances like. And so I love that melody because it has both sides of the extremes of intervals. And in the bridge section, you got. And that's so lovely because it's both repetitive and kind of sequential. That interval staying in your head like that really keeps that melody in your heart. And then it evolves by repeating and goes. And that sort of takes you to a new harmonic place, but without the melody losing its identity. And so a melody with a strong identity is something that's very important to aim for. Repetition, as I also just mentioned, is also very important. And so many of the greatest songs of all time have motifs or elements or intervals which are repeated time and time again so that they stay in your heart and stay in your mind. Somewhere Over the Rainbow, if we take that as an example, the structure of that song is you've got A, A, B, A, basically. You've got. And you've got again. Then you've got our bridge. And then again. And that's such a journey because it takes you on high arcs and low arcs and small intervals and large intervals. There's some contrast, there's some harmonic change, we'll get into harmony later on. But overarchingly, I think that melody is such a good example of something that has brilliant contour, repetition, form, contrasting intervals, yet all using notes that go together, and there's nothing too surprising, but it's not without surprise either, and I find that melody to be just a perfect form. So one thing I've found myself sitting and doing many a time in my musical life is sitting maybe at the piano or the guitar, and with these intervals and with this information, these tunes, these melodies in my mind, and trying to create my own. And a good melody is very, it's understated in a way. It can be cryptically hard to create a very good one. And so let's give it a shot right now. I have not planned any melodies here, but let's try and come up with a melody that feels nice to us. And I'm going to do it, I think I'm going to do it in the key of F. This is F major, meet F major. It's one of the best keys there is. And so let's see, if we're going to start a melody, rather than thinking about it too cerebrally and too much in our minds, it's nice just to sort of sing something and let something come out. In fact, I'll quickly share with you a lesson I was taught about melody from a very dear friend and teacher of mine. His name is Mike Walker. He's a guitar player from England. And I once asked Mike, how do you write a good melody, Mike? Because I wanted to know. And he said, well, the first thing to do is just to play me a melody. So I played him a melody. I'll play you one right now. There you go. It's not too bad. So I played him a melody. He said, okay, he said, that makes sense. And then he said, without judging the melody, he said, okay, now sing me a melody. And so I said, okay, and I'll sing you a melody right now. And my melody goes, that's my melody for today, improvised. And he said, okay, that's all good. And he said, okay, now listen carefully in your imagination and listen to somebody, it could be a friend of yours or someone in your family or a girl or whatever. Let that person sing you a melody in your mind, and then I want you to sing that melody back to me. I thought, oh, okay. So I listened carefully and thought, And then a melody came to me, and this is just a melody that's come to me right now, but if I go, la 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 la, like that. That feels to me quite nice. So I sang this melody to Mike, and he said, see how that melody feels right. It just feels right. There's form to it, there's shape to it, there's structure to it, more so than when I was noodling on the piano. That really feels complete. And he said, okay, that's the end of the lesson. That's it. That's all you need to know. And I was quite confounded and blown away by this lesson. But it's very important with melody to let it come to you. So rather than sitting and thinking, gosh, I need to make sure I incorporate thirds and fourths and fifths and seconds and sixths and sevenths, those melodies don't feel good. They might sound good, they might be good on paper, but they don't feel good. So it's important just to follow your nose. that melody, for example, had, a bit like Somewhere Over the Rainbow, a mixture of smaller intervals and larger intervals, larger gaps. And it also contained repetition. So say, for example, we locked that melody in. Yeah? And then an answering phrase might be, yeah? And to complete the form, and then say we repeat the whole melody. And then back home. That to me feels like something I can work with. It has a form, it has a sense of home, it belongs in the key. It's not too organized, it's not too chaotic. And so that to me feels okay. And ultimately, I would encourage you to write a melody that feels to you like it has a line that you are drawing that feels correct, that feels whole, feels like it's setting out on a journey, and it feels like it's departing from somewhere, and then it's also arriving somewhere. And perhaps what we can do over the course of the next few lessons is to explore where something like that melody can take us in terms of telling a musical story and going on a musical journey. Having explored a few of the melodic themes and ideas that exist in the world, I'm very much looking forward to our next lesson, which is to explore the wonderful and rich world of musical harmony. See you there.